What a pity. France cannot sell its wines. The UK too is struggling to move its goods. Brexit has limited London's options. So Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is pushing for trade deals. His government is pursuing one with India. It hasn't happened yet. The negotiations are still on. But the proposal has already run into controversy in London. An old ghost has come back to haunt Rishi Sunak. His family links to India's tech powerhouse Infosys. So what is this row about? Visas. They are an important part of any trade deal. The India-UK Free Trade Pact is no different. Visas are a major point of discussion. India wants more visas from the UK, especially for the workers in the information technology or IT sector. That's the ask from New Delhi. If London accepts, then Infosys could be a big beneficiary. It is one of the leading applicants for UK visas. In 2019, the company applied for 2,500 visas. That number will shoot up dramatically if London lifts curbs and makes it easier for Indians to apply. The Labour Party does not like the idea. They're the opposition. They want Rishi Sunak to sit out of the negotiations. Listen to what a Labour MP said, and I'm quoting. As the Prime Minister recently learned, it's important he declares any interests properly. I expect him to do so in respect of the India trade deal too. And what are these interests? Well, this is not about Rishi Sunak. It's really about his wife, Akshata Murthy. She's the daughter of N.R. Narayan Murthy, the founder of Infosys. Now, Akshata Murthy is a shareholder in Infosys. She owns 0.9% of the company, but she's not an employee of Infosys. Neither does she hold a management title or dictate business decisions. And yet, her links to Infosys keep triggering controversies around the Prime Minister. These questions were raised last year too, in March 2022, after Russia invaded Ukraine. Rishi Sunak took a tough position against the Kremlin. He was the Chancellor of the Exchequer then, the UK's finance minister basically, and he slapped tough sanctions. He even asked British companies to pull out of Russia. A host of them complied. They pulled out of Russia, but the opposition highlighted the case of Infosys. Apparently, it was still operating in Russia. And many British politicians did not like that. It's a bit perplexing, really. But that's politics for you. Infosys is an Indian company. It is subjected to Indian laws. And yet, it was being asked to follow British sanctions on Russia. You could blame it on the colonial hangover, but it did blow up into a major issue. Akshata Murthy was accused of collecting what her critics called blood money. That's a reference to the dividend Murthy gets as a shareholder in the company. There was another row over Murthy's non-domicile status. And what is that? It's a special designation, really. If you are a resident of the UK, but you have your permanent home outside the country, you can avoid paying regular British taxes. Akshata Murthy is a citizen of India, so she did not have to pay British taxes. Last year, she decided to pay voluntarily. That's when the issue subsided. But this situation is very different. The trade talks with India have resurrected this story. Infosys does a lot of business in the UK. It has contracts with the British government. It works with companies like Palantir. It's a software company. It works with the UK's healthcare system, the National Health Service or NHS. So you get the idea. Infosys is a well-established brand in the UK, and a trade deal between London and New Delhi could benefit both sides. But it would also put Rishi Sunak under an intense spotlight. So will he sit out of the negotiations? So far, he has no plans to recuse himself. He is expected to visit India soon for the G20 summit. In New Delhi, he is also expected to meet Prime Minister Modi. Reports say a bilateral is being planned. It could happen on the sidelines of G20. The trade deal could also be on the agenda for those talks. London wants to close this deal as soon as possible. Recently, the British Trade Minister was in India. She met top ministers from the Modi cabinet like Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal and Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Again, the focus was on trade. So a deal could be on the cards, and it's been a long time in the making. Sunak's predecessor, Boris Johnson, also pursued the same deal. But India's demands for a flexible visa regime derailed the talks. This time, London appears more likely to give in. But what will this compromise cost Rishi Sunak? The British Prime Minister is on thin ice.